Multi-digit multiplication with number chips. This is the Thanksgiving version, and this is a digital lesson. It's a lot of fun for the students. They get to move these chips around their screen. So it starts out explaining to the students how to multiply when you have the bigger numbers. So you want to line them up just like you do when you're adding or subtracting. So you line up the numbers in the ones place. And then you want to place the number with the most digits in the top row. Now you're going to break it down into smaller steps. So you're going to start multiplying by this number in the second row that's in the ones place. And you're going to multiply from right to left. So 3 times 3, 3 times 2, and then 3 times 5. And it shows this on the next slide. 3 times 3 is 9. Now here you want to explain to the students they're not just multiplying 3 times 2. This is actually 20. So 3 times 20, and that way the 6 would actually represent 60 and not 6. So 3 times 3, 3 times 2, and then 3 times 5. Now students are going to start on slide 5. So every slide has every number that the students need in order to do the multiplication. And we're going to start with smaller numbers and move up to more difficult problems as we go. So to move these numbers, you just click and hold on the edge. So here in this problem, we're going to multiply using this number in the ones place from right to left. 2 times 2 is 4. So you just click and hold on the edge, and then you can move that where you want. 2 times 1 and 2 times 4. Now you want to also point out that every one of your answers is going to be connected to a letter in a yellow heart, and that will help them solve a riddle on the very last slide. So here we have from right to left, 3 times 3, 3 times 1, and then 3 times 9 is 27. So when the problems get a little bit more difficult, they get to the end and the numbers aren't working, they know they've made an error somewhere and they need to go back and check. Next slide, there's a couple more problems to solve. And then you want to explain to the students what to do when you get a two-digit product. So here, if we multiply 4 times 7, we get 28. We want to leave the 8, and then the 2 you move to the next column to the left up above this number. So when you multiply 4 times 4, you're going to get 16, and you add the 2 that you carried. That would give you 18, so we're going to keep the 8, move the 1 over to the next column. 4 times 6 is 24, and then we add that 1 that we carried. So you get 2,588. So students are going to get some practice doing that. They've got these smaller numbers for the numbers they carried. So we're going to start with right to left. 7 times 8 is 56. So they're going to move the 6. They're going to carry the 5. So we're going to take this smaller 5, move it up here to the next column to the left. Now we're going to multiply 7 times 5 is 35, plus 5 gives us 40. So we're going to move the 0 and carry the 4 of 40. Now we have 7 times 6 is 42, plus 4 is 46. Carry the 4. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 4 is 39. So we get an answer of 39,606. So they're going to get a little bit more practice doing that on the next slide. Then you're going to show them what to do when we have a two-digit number in the second row. So we're going to actually have two sets of multiplication here. We're going to take 312 times 3 first, and then 312 times 20. And then we're going to take those two products and add them together. So the next slide is getting a little bit more difficult, so there are more numbers. And again, if they get toward the end and the numbers aren't working, they know they've made an error and they need to go back and check. So they're going to complete this, doing the addition. Then the numbers get a little bit bigger, 4-digit by 2-digit, 4-digit by 3-digit. And here they're shown that when they have a third row, they have to start with 2 zeros. So when you're multiplying by in the tens place, that row you start with a 0. You're multiplying by the number in the hundreds place, you have to start with 2 zeros. And when they get to the final slide, now they have all of their products, all of the answers from the previous slides. So they just have to scroll back up and find the slide with that answer. And then they take the letter that's in the yellow heart and they're going to type it in here. If they do this correctly, they will solve the riddle, how do pilgrims kick a bad habit? So this is a digital lesson, multi-digit multiplication with number chips, the Thanksgiving version.